Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. I'm Reverend Dr. Marion Stewart. It is my pleasure to serve this congregation as senior minister. And Happy New Year. And I understand there's a congratulation to our Buckeyes this weekend for their win. So everybody's happy today and the weather's good. It's wonderful. So glad you're here. As we begin our time together this morning, we once again acknowledge that we are on land that Native Americans inhabited for at least 14,000 years. In central and southern Ohio, long before white people came, Native groups traversed, hunted, fished, and farmed near the Scioto and Olentangy rivers. A large burial mound near High and Mound Streets was built by the Adena culture between 800 BCE and 100 CE. Other Native groups have lived here as well. In the 1770s, members of the Seneca Cayuga Nation established a village on the banks of the Scioto near present-day Columbus. Under the Indian Removal Act of 1830, Native tribes in central Ohio were forcefully removed to lands west of the Mississippi. I invite you to take a deep breath, knowing all of this, and let us find ways to celebrate the life that we have today in this new year, this time, as we honor all peoples. I invite you now to listen to our prelude as we begin our service.
Thank you, Nathan. Good morning. Happy New Year. Go Bucks. And welcome to First UU. My name is Kelly McNeil, and I serve as the Director of Congregational Life here at the church. It is so very good to be with you this morning. If you are visiting with us, welcome. Please let us know that you are here by filling out our visitors form on our website. You can find a link to that in the chat box. We have several announcements this morning. You can join us at coffee hour after this service to participate in an optional meditation breakout room. Jesse will explain more about this later in the service. Our regular breakout rooms will also be available. Please join us during coffee hour next week for a board town hall where we'll be imagining what the church could look like in 5 years and where we see ourselves. We are introducing a new adult RE curriculum, Faith Forward, on January 11th. Don't worry, we'll be out in time for the game. Faith Forward is a curriculum developed by the First Unitarian Church of Dallas and includes courses such as UU History 101, UU Elevator Speech, and spiritual practices. We will begin with spiritual practices on January 11th at 7 p.m. You can register on our website. The link is in the chat box, and these courses are open to everyone. And finally, if you would like to know more about who we are and are thinking that you may like to become a member, our next Pathways to Membership classes are Sunday, January 17th, or Thursday, January 21st. You can register for one of those classes on our website, and that link is also in the chat box. If you have any questions, please let me know. For now, I invite you into our time of worship.
If you have your chalice or candle nearby, I invite you to bring it close so that we can light our chalice together. This morning, our chalice lighting words are from Carolyn McDade. Carolyn McDade is a social activist, singer, and songwriter. Living our lives in ways that heal and uplift, that bring our human family to right relationship and reverence, is deep and beautiful purpose. Our chalice is lit. Our opening song this morning is Spirit of Life. Written in 1981 for a women's service at the Arlington Street Unitarian Universalist Church in Boston, Carolyn McDade, the writer of our chalice lighting words, had no intention of writing a song or an anthem, but Unitarian Universalists sing this song everywhere. What a wonderful way to bring in the new year with Spirit of Life. I'll also tell you that in the fall of 2007, in an issue of UU World magazine, contributor Kimberly French wrote this about the song and its author. No other song, no other prayer, no other piece of liturgy is so well known and loved in Unitarian Universalism as Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade. It is our doxology, or perhaps our amazing grace. Many congregations sing it every Sunday, or at least enough know the words by heart. Sermons have been devoted to this one song. A new adult religious exploration program has also been offered. The song is sung at weddings and memorials, around campfires and at demonstrations, at cradles and at hospital bedsides. In 6 short lines, Spirit of Life touches so much that is central to our faith: compassion, justice, community, freedom, reverence for nature, and the mystery of life. It finds common ground held by humanists and theists, pagans and Christians, Buddhists and Jews, gay and straight among us. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots, hold me close. Wings, set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Whose hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
There are so many ways to celebrate the new year. This year, we have a very special way to start the new year, and I invite Judy Kleen to tell us all about it.
Good morning. I'm Judy Kleen, and I was the high bidder at last year's UU auction to work with Reverend Marion to choose a sermon topic. Marion assures me that she is offering this again for the February Through the Looking Glass online auction. So you too can bid for this unique opportunity. For my topic, I have selected open doors. It can have many meanings, but for this morning, it means healing, fresh starts, and being open to new possibilities. My parents were divorced when I was about 8, and my brother and I were raised by a single mother, most unusual for the 1950s. Fast forward to October 1997. My mother and her significant other, a lovely gentleman, came to visit from Arizona for my birthday. Mom often came to visit in the fall as she really missed the beautiful maple trees with their changing colors. Les, my husband at the time, had made dinner reservations at an Italian restaurant. I was a bit frustrated as it was pouring rain and I could not find my camera for birthday photos, but off we went. At Da Vinci's, we were directed upstairs, and I heard a group singing happy birthday. I was about to say that someone else must be celebrating a birthday when I realized that this was a really good rendition of Happy Birthday, which is actually not easy to sing. And it surely sounded like my UU choir. Indeed, I got to the top of the stairs and there were many members of the choir there, my brother Tom, my daughter Karen, and several coworkers from Ohio State. It was a huge surprise, a wonderful celebration. I was not surprised that my father, who lived in Cleveland, was unable to come as he was 83 and in poor health. After a lovely evening with lots of photos, Les had given my camera to daughter Karen. We arrived back home. Everyone went to bed, and then Les said he had something to show me. He brought out the letter that my mom sent to him when he invited her to the birthday party. Mom said that she would love to come for my party, but only if my father did not attend. Let me say again, my parents were divorced when I was 8. Mom was in a happy relationship with a lovely man, and this was my 50th birthday. I decided right then that holding on to old wounds for years and years did not make sense. Bitterness is not helpful for me. It is exhausting. I believe in the possibility that wounds can be healed, that new relationships can develop. It is not always easy, but for me, keeping doors open is a challenge, a goal, and a path to understanding. It helps me to be my very best self. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing your story. Amber Scott, our Director of Religious Exploration, is off today, so I'll be sharing our Time for All Ages story. But don't worry, Amber will be back next Sunday. Our classes for children and youth are on holiday break until next week. Please check the chat box or email Amber for more information. Today's story is called Little Manku's Big Dream, written and illustrated by Abhilasha Kachari and published on Storyweaver. Manku had a dream. Butterfly wings made her eyes gleam. She had dreams of flying in the sky and seeing the world, no matter how impossible it may seem. With a heart as big as her dreams, Manku loved to help anyone in need. Mr. Baloo Kaka, please let me help you with those bags, Manku would say to her neighbor. Oh, poor little lamb, don't you worry, don't cry. Let's go and look for your mummy, she consoled the lost creature. One afternoon, when Manku came home from school, she saw her grandma sitting and shelling peas. Can I help you, Granny? Asked Manku. Granny smiled and gave Manku some pea pods to open. Manku peeled a pod open to take out the peas and felt something wiggle. So she carefully opened the pod some more to check. A round green pea with big, big eyes. Oh, wait, this isn't a pea. It's a wiggly caterpillar. Manku squealed with excitement. She ran to her room, carrying the caterpillar gently, and set it on a leaf on the tree just outside her window. You can live here, little one, Manku whispered at the caterpillar. The caterpillar wiggled and wiggled some more, and then started nibbling on the fresh green leaves. That night, when Manku was fast asleep in her bed, suddenly she heard someone calling her name. The voice seemed to come from near the window. Oh dear, who could be calling at this hour? Manku sleepily wondered, feeling more than a bit worried. Psst, psst, Manku, said the caterpillar, a little louder than before. Manku jumped right out of her bed and ran to the window. The caterpillar was smiling and waving at her. Manku rubbed her eyes twice to make sure she wasn't dreaming. I need your help, Manku. I have eaten a lot in the last few days, and now I am big enough to go into a cocoon to rest. But I don't have a cocoon, and I don't know how to make one, explained the caterpillar sadly. Oh, I can use Granny's silk threads to make a cocoon for you. I know what one looks like. I saw it in a book, said Manku. After school that week, Manku spent all her free time sewing and weaving a cocoon for her little friend. Manku made a beautiful pink cocoon. The caterpillar wiggled and rolled in excitement, but now it was time to say goodbye. With a heavy heart, Manku bid the caterpillar farewell as her friend crawled into the cocoon. Goodbye, my friend. Until we meet again." They each shed a tear as the caterpillar closed up the cocoon. Several days later, Manku took her usual path walking home from school, when suddenly she spotted something bright and colorful behind the old banyan tree. She leaned closer to see what it was. "Whoa!" Manku gasped in excitement. Her caterpillar friend had transformed into a big, beautiful butterfly. "Come on, Manku, hop on. It's time to fly and touch the sky," the beautiful butterfly exclaimed. Manku hopped on her friend's back, and in no time at all, they were flying high above the town, touching the clouds. Manku pinched herself twice to be sure she wasn't dreaming. Finally, little Manku's big dreams of flying had come true. The end. In this story, Manku dreams of flying and happens to befriend a caterpillar. The two are inseparable until the caterpillar asks for help weaving a cocoon. Tearfully, they say goodbye to one another on the precipice of a major change in their lives. Even though the change felt scary and painful, the transformation led to greater potential and happiness for both of them. Together, they flew across the sky. I invite you to think of times that you were open to new experiences and how taking those risks allowed you to soar. May we all be as brave as Manku when facing whatever our next life chapter may bring.
Thank you, Kelly. What a fun story. I'm Isabel Call, your Assistant Minister of Pastoral Care. It is life-giving for me to witness your resilience, tenderness, and compassion for yourselves and others. In large and small ways, we weave cocoons for each other's transformations, for birthdays, for New Year's, for grief, and for endings. One cocoon is the emotional and practical preparation we make for the end of our lives. This month, First UU is hosting 2 gatherings to help you weave this cocoon. Next Sunday at 2 p.m. after the town hall, we'll meet on Zoom to reflect on our wishes for how we will be cared for and how to share these wishes with those who will be with us at the end. There's a link with more information in the chat. You can see details in Kelly's Friday announcements. The end of our lives is one transition, but there are many others, and we are here to share them. Later in our time together, we will honor our transformations during the caring meditation. If you'd like to share a significant event in your life, I invite you to use the chat box now to type your full name and in 10 words or less, your sorrow or joy. Then select Send to Panelists. In the future, you're welcome to submit a request ahead of time on our website, where you can also ask for other support. I now invite us all to sing together, Calm Soul of All Things.
Calm soul of all things, make it mine to feel amid the city's jar, that there abides a peace of thine I did not make and cannot mar. Thou wilt to neither strive nor cry, the power to feel with others light to fill amid the city's jar, the several bites of peace abides. I did not make and cannot mark, then cannot neither strive nor cry, the strive nor cry, with others give, with others give, nor let me by, before I have begun to live.
Wow, thank you, Brandon. Just thank you. That was lovely. This morning's service is based on Judy Kleen's auction theme of open doors. This time last year, I preached on 2020, the vision of 2020 for the new year. Surely we could see what was going to happen, having grounded myself a few years into the life of the congregation and all of our experiences together. It looked like we were headed in a good direction for a wonderful year filled with the joys and celebrations of community. Never did any of us know what lay in store. On this New Year's Sunday, let us just say we get a fresh start. It will take a while in coming, but the doors are beginning to open. The light is beginning to shine, and we have hope. The question is, how will we be in this new year? Judy's story of her experience of holding on to old hurts and wounds reminds me of times when I take too much baggage with me to the airport. It might all fit into one suitcase, but it is too heavy to lift. I pay extra charges at the baggage check-in, and I can hardly manage the bag on the other side. Life is like that too. The emotional baggage of old hurts, wounds, offenses, and slights can change our relationships. We avoid, withdraw, and line up defenses. We trot out the same old stories and one-line judgments. I won't come if so-and-so is there. The word never crops up a lot. Too often, these old stories define us and limit us. Richard Wagamese in Embers, one of Jidway's meditations, reflected on this situation. He writes, "You stand on the edge of a canyon and you shout something. The world and the universe echo your own voice back, whether you shout Yahoo or Yeehaw, or maybe no or never. That's how echoes work. What you throw out echoes your own energy back. The old stories and wounds keep echoing back and defining our lives. They can even make us angry and resentful and maybe even bitter. I wonder, what would happen if we saw a door, or maybe even imagine our minds, our hearts as open, even if slightly, instead of being a closed case, slammed shut? What if we changed our perspective? Find open doors and dare go through them. Simple and terrifying. Also, maybe a bit curious. What could possibly be on the other side, waiting? Sounds easy, right? Well, If you're like me, you can vaguely see the door and reluctantly admit that it might be open just a bit. But you just sit. You do nothing. You sit and you stare, stuck in the old, comfortable, even if miserable, too comfortable to even attempt change. The known is always less scary than the unknown. In her best-selling novel, Vesper Flights, author Helen MacDonald adroitly addresses the need, the art, the joy of changing perspectives. In her chapter, High Rise, she contrasts looking up at the tall buildings scraping against the empty sky with looking at the ocean and being surprised by the complexity of life beneath the surface. Visiting the upper floors of a high-rise, McDonald soon discovers what she missed by staying on the ground. Insects were as abundant as on the ground. Aphids still fed on rose bushes. Whole flocks of birds flew, barely seen from below, flew in migration patterns overhead. Now, McDonald knew that the eastern seaboard of the United States was a prime migratory route for birds. What she didn't realize was the complexities within their journey, at least the part that took place out of sight, far above the street level view. At night, the birds still flew high above. Seeing the lights of the tall buildings, they would sometimes be drawn into the brightness. They'd crash. Sometimes they'd even pile up. Often enough that a few building managers had begun to dim or turn off the lights for periods of time in the night to give the birds a chance to recover. Pileups is what we do in our own lives sometimes. Drawn to the stories of old, not all of which work for us anymore, and they're well past their prime. We nevertheless fly right into that wall again and again. Richard Wagamese has been there. He writes, "It's all about opening, really. When I open myself to the world and its possibilities, even its hurts, I become whole. But when I choose to close, my life becomes fraught with struggle. Everything I do becomes about shielding myself rather than inviting the good energy to fill me. Everything is energy. So I try to let the negative pass through me rather than holding on to it." The new year is a good time to take inventory. Recognizing our old stories, consider the limits and harms they place upon you. And be curious. Be curious about what letting go might open up. Letting go of some of that baggage. What could it do? Besides bruising our ego a little bit and our pride of never changing our minds and possibly being wrong, there really might be a chance that a door could be open and something might be on the other side. In the 18th century, in the early days of our country, John Murray saw an open door. Already a minister and a spiritual person, Murray had recently experienced a spiritual conversion. He converted to Universalism, and his views were no longer welcomed in his old church. Stuck, having lost his wife and children to illness, he found himself deeply in debt. And Murray actually considered suicide. He left England, which was in the midst of an evangelical revival as a reaction to the Enlightenment. Murray sailed for New York, but his ship grounded on a sandbar on the shores of New Jersey. Murray made his way on shore in a sloop loaded with cargo to lighten the ship's load, hoping that it could sail off when the tide rose the next day. Murray carried the extra baggage, if you will, and headed for land. According to Kimberly French's article in the UU World from the summer 2009 issue, Murray had taken only his Bible and his purse with him. He went ashore to find food and was directed to the home of Thomas Potter. Potter had built a meeting house for Unitarian Universalist discussion groups in the woods 10 years earlier and had been looking for a minister ever since. When Murray appeared, Potter said, "I've been expecting you for a long time." Murray was dumbstruck and initially refused Potter's invitation to preach, insisting he would be gone by Sunday. At last, he agreed that if the wind had not changed, he would preach. So on September 30th, 1770, near what is now the Murray Grove Universalist Retreat Center in Lacona Harbor, John Murray did preach. As soon as he finished, the wind changed and Murray left for New York. John Murray is the inspirational founder of Universalism in America. He couldn't stand his old story any longer. It was literally threatening his life. His door was open to the new world where he could preach his message of love and hope and universal salvation. To quote Wagamese again, the first step is to try and to make it beyond. In life, the first step looks different for each one of us. For John Murray, it was getting on a ship. For Judy, it was realizing that the 50-year-old story her family had been telling had been limiting her mother's life and her own. Judy decided to let go of the "I won't do this if this person comes or if that thing happens." She let go of the if-onlys and made a decision. She would no longer live her life limited by the stories and habits that imposed restrictions on how she viewed the world and relationships. How often do we get stuck in our own stories that limit us? How heavy is our luggage? If we let go and find the open doors, it is possible to heal some of our old wounds, make fresh starts, and imagine new possibilities. More than ever before, this new year will be different. That might be an understatement. We have all had a chance to live differently through this past year. We all want change. But the question is, what will we bring to the new year with us? And what do we need to leave behind? Could we move on and find love and joy on the other side? I don't know, but I'm willing to try. Are you? Our special music this morning is a wonderful piece of music. Is "You Are the New Day" by John David. The Choir Life blog gives us some insight into the song and the songwriter's process about his own struggle with the depths of his life and the world around him. It is written, however spiritually moving the listener might find the music, You Are the New Day is a secular song. David wrote it for airwaves in 1978 during a time when personal difficulties and threats to the world peace caused him to look for hope within himself. In John David's own words, the inspiration for New Day was quite simple. I had just had a major blow in my personal life and was sitting alone late at night on a settee feeling very low and watching an ominous story on the news about the very real possibility of nuclear war. I started singing to hopefully the soon to arrive new day, like it was an entity that would rescue me from the depths. If the sun came up and the birds started singing as usual, then I could believe that it really was the new day in which life would go on and in which hope would survive. The tune and words popped into my head at the same time, and it was all written in about 10 minutes, which is why, to me at least, it is not perfect. But I didn't feel I had the right to change anything. My friends, I invite you to imagine a new day for yourself, for a new day is on the horizon. Just open the door.
You are the new day, new day. You are the new day. I will love you more than me.
Oh, thank you, Nathan, Julie, Brandon, and Michaela. I felt like you were singing right to my heart. First UU is a church that matters. It is in the foundation of our being to love, to care, and to be generous. We know this world is a long way from being fair to all people. It takes all of us to make it better. To offer our gifts and pay our promised pledges is to say to ourselves and to the world that we are defined by our hearts and our deeper values. We understand that some folks in our community have been financially devastated by the pandemic, while others' finances still feel solid. If you have been fortunate enough to retain financial stability, we hope that you will consider giving extra, knowing that not all of us have been so lucky. Regardless of your ability to contribute financially, we value you and your presence in our community. Please do not hesitate to reach out for whatever help you may need. Our Share the Plate recipient for January is the Clintonville Beechwold Community Resources Center. CRC provides local assistance through their food pantry, child and youth programs, senior services, and kinship care program. Whether it's a helping hand during hard times or helping people get the support they need through referrals to other services in our network, CRC keeps our community strong by ensuring that all individuals and families become self-sufficient. The offering that helps build a better world and a better church will now be gratefully received. You can donate online on our website, text to give, bank by mail, or write a check and mail it in. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Nathan. Please join me now in preparing for the caring meditation with context on loving kindness from one of our members, Jesse Sadaka.
My name is Jesse Sadaka. I joined First UU back in September, and I now serve with the caring team. Just so you know, my pronouns are they, them. Back in November, I went to a workshop about compassion. Several members of our congregation attended as part of our ongoing training for pastoral care at First UU. The facilitator was Laura L. Banks, who's certified in compassion training via Stanford University. Today, I'll be sharing with you a few highlights from that workshop, along with a special invitation. In the research Laura shared with us, compassion is defined with 4 parts: awareness of another's suffering, a sense of caring connection, willingness to help alleviate the suffering, and the belief that you can make a difference for that person. Compassion is a specific response to suffering, and it includes motivation to support the person affected. I'm sure we can all think of situations where we want to respond with compassion and be helpful to someone who's suffering, but sometimes our own emotions make that difficult. Laura explored that phenomenon with the idea of 3 zones. First, a comfort zone, where we feel warm, fuzzy, supported, and safe. Secondly, a growth zone, where we want to be a lot of the time, where we're exposed to new ideas, challenged by different experiences, and we grow and adapt as we go along. But lastly, there's the overwhelm zone, which is where we become distressed and distracted, and we're unable to respond to situations with the grace we'd like to have. Sometimes being aware of another person's suffering can be tough. Sometimes we get overwhelmed, and we might feel frozen or hopeless because of the scale of the suffering we face. If we end up in the overwhelm zone, it's important to step back and care for ourselves. Revisit the comfort zone to rebalance. Laura talked a lot about the importance of self-compassion. In these busy days and stressful times, we could all stand to be kinder to ourselves. The super cool thing I learned from Laura about compassion is that it's trainable. We can practice compassion as a skill and become better at it. Best of all, we can practice on our own, outside of the situations where somebody is suffering and we need to respond. We can practice ahead of time for the inevitable moments in life where we want to have our compassion ready. A great method for strengthening our compassion muscles is called loving kindness meditation, in which you practice feelings of care and concern, both for yourself and for other people. Science shows that loving kindness meditation makes a difference. Also, small doses help, and the impact lasts. There's a link to a references sheet provided in the chat box. Now for the invitation. Today, during the coffee hour after the service, there'll be an optional breakout room where we'll go through an example loving kindness meditation together. Pat Snyder will facilitate. Our meditation will last about 10 minutes, and then there'll be a short period for reflection afterwards before we rejoin the main group for social time. Everybody's welcome. I hope to see you there.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I will be there. In the December issue of O. Henry magazine, Prayers of the People was a feature section. Looking forward to the new year, prayers were gathered from spiritual and religious leaders from all across the local community. The Prayers of the People section began with these words. Not every prayer is formal or religious. Many are not. Best-selling author Anne Lamott wrote, "Help, thanks, wow," as a reminder that, yep, A prayer can be as simple as one word. When it comes to asking for guidance, there isn't a formula. We can show gratitude in as many ways as there are moments in the day, and there's no wrong way. We can pray together, we can pray alone. It doesn't even have to be out loud. Dance might be our prayer, or song, or our gentle steps upon this earth. I see you is a prayer of recognition. I love you is better. Sometimes our thoughtful actions are another's answered prayer. What is prayer but faith that we are part of something bigger than ourselves? This morning we add our prayers as well as our joys and sorrows as we comfort and celebrate our care for the world and each other. Through the Joys and Sorrows section under Connections on our First UU website, we have 4 caring cards this week. Happy birthday to Jo E.M., who celebrated her 85th birthday last Wednesday. Congratulations to Nathan and Erica B.M., who welcomed their second child, Adelaide, to the world November 23rd. They're grateful that the birth was free of complications, and Adelaide and Erica have enjoyed good health so far. Our hearts go out to Laurel R., who continues to grieve her beloved husband, Ernest Lockridge, who died November 15th. His celebration of life will be in November of this year. She has appreciated the cards and emails she's received from those who knew him and prefers to grieve in private. And we send healing thoughts to Jesse C. and offer him and his family love and support. Jesse has been diagnosed with leukemia. We also all send our love to Nashville as the community reckons with the terrible unknowns of the bombing on Christmas Day. And here are some things that you brought forward in the chat. Susan N. shares her sorrow that her friend Marlene has come down with COVID-19. Marlene is relatively young, and I hope she will recover soon, says Susan. A joy from Michael and Donna G. Their daughter Natasha visited for New Year from Baltimore. And a thanks from Kitty and Oliver for all the healing thoughts. They say we are doing well and are grateful for the love. Let us hold all that has been brought before us in a spirit of loving kindness.
I invite you, as we hold all that's been brought before us, I invite you into a moment of silence as I ring the temple bell. Our closing words this morning are by the same author of Spirit of Life, the song we sang at the beginning of the service, Carolyn McDade. To complete our circle, the closing words and the chalice lighting words are from the same person. What a perfect way to begin the new year. Listen deeply and imagine a year of open doors, open heart, and open spirit. Countenance. Ever so often she comes, a song, a rupture with pretension. She walks out of the heart, its folds of hills, its damp, persistent marshes, its long, perfect curve. It is her countenance that names her. Her lack of detour from fields of fear and danger in a fastened world. She comes not clinging. In all the rush to understand, she is patient with meanings. In the clamor for hope, she says but one thing: this life, in all its ache and beauty, is worthy, my friend, of living. Blessed be. Amen. I invite you now to sing our closing song, Let It Be a Dance, by Rick Maston. Maston was a troubadour and poet and folk singer, and he became a Unitarian Universalist minister in 1971. In his pioneer ministry, Maston became known nationwide as a traveling musician and ambassador for liberal religion. Maston is the author of 23 books. He's a stand-up poet and a teller of tales. His humorous anecdotes, pointed stories, and accurate observations speak to the human condition. He also knew how to lift us up. This song, Let It Be a Dance, can be sung in so many ways, but I invite you to just bring your full spirit and enjoy in singing along. Let it be a dance.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with the wind. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child is born, the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it easy, passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong, then nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter. let it be a dance.
I invite you to bring your candle or chalice closer so that we can extinguish the flame together. As an extension of our community, I invite you to imagine holding hands together, sharing with each other the warmth of community. Even though we are not in person, it exists nevertheless in our hearts. Let us say our words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Our chalice is extinguished.
But wait, there's more. We have a few announcements and opportunities coming up to remind you about. We will be having our board town hall next Sunday after the service. Thoughts, opinions, and ideas are most welcome. Afterwards, please have lunch and then join us again for our first end-of-life planning workshop at 2 p.m. Also, that week, a week from Monday, Faith Forward begins. Register for spiritual practices on our website, Monday nights at 7 p.m. And Pathways to Membership. Please register online. All the links are in the chat. It'll be Sunday, January 17th, or you could choose instead Thursday, January 21st. You can see Rev Talk, Friday announcements, and RE News for more links and information. Everyone is invited to coffee hour after the service. We will check in together and then go to breakout rooms as usual. One of the breakout rooms will be a meditation space, as explained by Jesse earlier in the service. Everyone is welcome. You can find the link in the chat box and also in this morning's worship email. The passcode is lowercase UU. Coffee hour will begin shortly after this broadcast ends. See you there.
Today's worship service would not be possible without the time and care of many people. Thank you all. A very special thank you to Judy Kleen, whose contributions defined today's service topic. Reverend Marion would love to work with someone next year on the sermon topic of your choosing. All you have to do is submit your bid at our annual First UU auction to be held next month. It is a fine way to support our church and to see yourself or your ideas in a service. Again, thank you to Judy for a wonderful topic for today. As always, many thanks to our wonderful musicians, especially the quartet, Michaela, Julie Carr-Smith, Brandon, and Nathan. We also appreciate our ministry team and the work they do to bring Sunday service to you all.
Oops. Thank you, everyone, for joining our service today. Again, thank you, Judy, for such a wonderful, wonderful, rich topic. I leave you today with a quote, an idea, something to think about over the week, but also to bring into coffee hour. It's a quote used earlier by Richard Wagamese. The first step is to try to make it beyond. The first step is to try to make it beyond. What is your open door? What is your first step? See you in coffee hour. Have a wonderful week. Blessed be, and amen.